Hi guys, this is Andrew with rockclass101.com, and in this week's ukulele lesson, Steven's going to be teaching you how to play Smash the Windows, which is also known as Roaring Jelly. Now this is a traditional Irish jig, and anytime we're playing an Irish jig, we want to keep in mind what jig means. Jig roughly translates to dance. So as we think about playing this piece of music, we want it to have that vibe, that feel that makes us want to, well, for lack of a better word, get up and dance. So how do we accomplish that? Well, the trick, or I should say the answer, is in the right hand technique. Now this song uses a attack that most of us would recognize as the triplet strum. So it's 2 fingers doing 3 hits. And it's usually played with the index finger down, followed by the thumb down, and then the index finger up. But here's where the magic comes into play. Instead of doing this attack as a strum technique, what if we turned it into a hybrid technique? So instead of brushing across all 4 strings for each of the hits, what if we brushed across all 4 for the first hit, plucked a single note for the second hit, and plucked a single note for the third hit? And in essence, that would create what I like to call triplet strum magic. So this right hand playing style, which is also known as cherry picking, it allows you to play this type of music with a highly rhythmic, very full-bodied and beautiful sustain. It's a sound that isn't achievable with traditional fingerpicking and strumming technique. So if you want to learn more about this right hand playing style, click this link right here. I'll also put the link to the triple strum magic course in the description box below, so if you want to jump straight into the course, you can check that out as well. But the course is going to take you step by step, and it's going to explain what this right hand technique is in a way more in-depth, detailed explanation, and it's going to take you through all the steps from learning how to turn that triple strum technique into that hybrid that I talked about, into this very percussive and awesome sounding Irish jig type of music. So this lesson that Steven's going to teach you, it's going to move forward with the assumption that you know how to do this right hand playing style. Now, with that in mind, you can play this song using traditional fingerpicking strumming, but keep in mind it's not going to sound as good. So I'd highly encourage you to check out the course and get that technique under your belt before you jump into learning this tune. So let's talk about this lesson. So in this video, Steven's going to be teaching you how to play the entire song. But if you want to get the tabs to print off and follow along with, you can do so by clicking this link right here or going to the site rockclass101.com and doing a search for Smash the Windows. Now, also on that page will be the on-screen tab viewer. Now, this is a really cool feature where you can hit play, you can watch the tabs scroll across in real time, you can highlight bars to loop sections, slow it down to any speed you wish. Just a great asset in learning this song that much easier. All right, guys, so I'm going to go ahead and hand it off to Steven to teach you how to play this tune, and then I'll see you at the end of the video.
It's triple time. Yes! Now when I make these lessons, I record them and then I send them to Andrew, and then he records his little intro bit and sticks it on the front. So I never know what he's going to say in that intro, but I would be shocked and amazed if he didn't just tell you you should be checking out the triplet strum magic course. And if you did, you should, because he's right. But if you didn't, then you still should anyway, because it's a really cool right hand technique, but also we are going to be using it in this lesson. And the way we're going to use it is in a similar way to St. Anne's Reel from the Triplet Strum Magic course, where we kind of set up this kind of continuous rhythmic backbeat using the triple technique whilst playing the melody and the chords all at the same time. Now, if you don't want to bother with the triple technique, that's cool, I can dig it. It is possible to play this piece just without the triple technique and just pick the notes instead. It's not going to sound quite as good, not quite as effective as using the triple technique, but it'll still kind of work, it'll still sound okay, and there are no rules to this stuff anyway, just the fact that we're all here together playing ukulele, that's what it's all about. But just so you're aware, I am going to be teaching this lesson using that triple technique, and I am also going to assume a knowledge of that technique. I'm not going to be teaching that technique in this lesson, That's what the triplets from Magic course is there for. But I'm just going to be showing you how to apply this technique to this piece. So if your fingers are feeling tripply, then let's get into this. Yeah, it doesn't really work without a uke. So like most Irish jigs, this piece is in 6/8 time, which just means that we have 6 1/8 notes per measure, which will count in 2 groups of 3. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's how we'll count it. And we will start by looking at the count and the beats in that way, and we will have the rhythm hits images up on one of these sides throughout the lesson, showing the rhythm hits and the count and the beats and all of that. But as we play this at speed and as we get a bit faster at it and get it towards that kind of desired tempo where it is, sort of an upbeat, sort of fast-paced dance tune, it becomes really, really difficult to count. And actually we don't need to. Counting becomes a hindrance, it overcomplicates things, and we don't need to be counting once we understand the rhythm. So it's really important that we get to grips with this rhythm, understand it, feel it, so we just know what's going on with it, and that's going to be the secret to unlocking this whole piece. So let's have a look at this rhythm just on muted strings for now, and we'll start by looking at our 6 beats per measure. And what's going to happen is on beats 1 and 4, that is always going to be a thumb down pick all the way through the music, no matter what else is going on in terms of the melody or the chords or whatever. Beat 1 and beat 4 will always be a thumb down pick. So if we look at how that would be just on muted strings, we'll do this with me, and we'll just use the E string muted, so use your left hand just to lightly touch the strings to mute them, and then on the E string with the thumb on beats 1 and 4 we'll just do a pick. So we'll count 1 to 6 and pick on 1 and 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So always with the thumb, always on beats 1 and 4. Now similarly, what we're going to do is an index down strum on beats 3 and 6, all the way through the piece. No matter what's going on, look at the music, all the way through on beats 3 and beat 6, always an index down strum. So if we put that all together, what we would have, we'll just pick the E string with the thumb like we've been doing and just kind of strum down sort of these 3 strings, the G, the C and the E, just kind of general strum, doesn't matter what we hit, just a kind of strum motion. So thumb on beat 1 and then strum on beat 3, then straight after on beat 4, thumb again, and then strum with the index on beat 6. So we'd have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And that's the basis of the rhythm, all the way through. Thumb, strum, thumb, strum, thumb, strum, thumb. So if we try and do this kind of counting, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That kind of works. But as we get a bit quicker, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2. I'm lost already. Straight away, I've lost count. I'm not in time with myself. It's all gone wrong. It's a big old mess. But at speed, we can hear that rhythm. We don't need to be counting. Hear it. Bum chuck 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 bum. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But we don't need to count it. It's a really familiar rhythm. It's the rhythm of your heartbeat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Bum chuck bum chuck bum chuck bum chuck bum chuck bum chuck. That's all we need. Bum chuck. Let's call this the bum chuck rhythm. Okay, so what we're going to do, instead of counting, what we're going to do, every thumb pick is the bum, bum. And then every index down strum is the chuck, chuck. Bum, chuck, 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 bum, chuck. And if we can hear that and feel that and understand that, we don't need to think about counting. So what we're going to do, bum with the thumb, chuck with the strum. Bum with the thumb, chuck with the strum. Bum, chuck, bum, chuck, bum, chuck, bum, chuck. Bum with the thumb, chuck with the strum. Good that, innit? I came up with that. Andrew, if you're watching. So bum with the thumb, chuck with the strum. Bum, chuck, 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 bum, chuck. So practice that, get your head around that, feel that rhythm, because a lot of the measures in this piece are just that. Bum, chuck, bum, chuck, bum, chuck. And most of the other measures are just one variation on that simple rhythm. So rather than just bum, chuck, we're going to be playing bum, chuck, bum, and chuck. So we will play on beat 5. So bum, chuck, bum, and chuck. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that beat 5, because we're using our triple technique, what we're going to do for beat 5 is use an index up pick. That's going to be on beat 5. And we play it really slowly on the muted strings. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we can see that final set of 3 notes, the 4, 5, 6, is just using our triple technique of thumb down, index up, index down. Yeah, that's our triple technique that we've learned in the Triplet Strum Magic course. We're just using that little triple sequence on beats 4, 5, and 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And as you can imagine, at speed, that is impossible to count. We don't need to. Bum, chuck, bum, and chuck, bum, chuck, bum, and chuck, bum, chuck, bum, and chuck, bum, chuck, bum, and chuck. Bum, chuck, bum, and chuck. That's all you need. Just need your bum chucks, and you're all sorted. Bum, chuck, bum, and chuck, bum, chuck, bum, and chuck, bum, chuck, bum, and chuck. Okay, so practice those 2 rhythms. Just your bum chucks, and then your bum, chuck, bum, and chucks. Bum and chuck, bum, chuck, bum, and chuck, bum, chuck, bum, and chuck. Do them slowly at first. Bum, chuck, bum, chuck, bum, chuck, bum, chuck. And the alternative, bum, chuck, bum, and chuck, bum, chuck, bum, and chuck. And rhythmically, that's pretty much all we need. There are 3 measures throughout the entire piece that don't do one of those 2 rhythms. And they're not difficult, they're just slightly different, but we'll look at them when we get to them. But most of the piece, just that bum, chuck, bum, chuck, bum, chuck, bum, chuck, or bum, chuck, bum, and chuck, bum, chuck, bum, and chuck. So think about them, get them in your head, just get them embedded. I'd probably go back, listen to the performance video again at the beginning, and try and just filter out all of that melody stuff and just focus on that bum, chuck, bum, chuck, bum, chuck, bum, chuck. Just try and hear it, try and feel it, get it into you so it just feels natural. So bum chucking is just as natural as breathing. Okay, moving on. When your bum chucks are feeling good, let's get stuck into that intro and let's start learning this piece. So by this point, hopefully that bum chuck rhythm is just like embedded in your soul. And if it is, this will be dead easy. The intro in particular will be really easy because we're just using that basic bum chuck rhythm and we're just playing it on an open C chord. So if we look at measures 1 and 2 together, because we're just playing the same thing twice, really sort of measure 1 is then just repeated for measure 2. We'll hold our C chord, probably use the 3rd finger for that. Probably not too important there. You could use your 2nd if you prefer it, but I'll go with the 3rd. And then we're just going to pick that on beat 1. With the thumb, just the bum chuck rhythm like we've been doing. Miss out beat 2 as always. Index down on beat 3, and we're just going to do that index down strum on these kind of bottom 3 strings. The bottom 3 are shown on the music, the G, the C, and the E as what to play. But if you just hit the bottom 2, it doesn't really matter. It's just that kind of chuck sound that we want, that strum sound on beat 3. So beat 1, thumb, beat 3, index down strum. Straight after on beat 4, pick that A at the 3rd again with the thumb, and then on beat 6, just that index down strum again. Bum, chuck, bum, chuck. That's measure 1. We just repeat that for measure 2. Bum, chuck, bum, chuck. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But as we said before, we don't need to count. We can just think about the bum chuck rhythm. And that is measures 1 and 2, nice and simple for the intro. So let's have a go at playing those 2 measures together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So onto the A melody section. Unfortunately, to complicate things, this A melody kicks off with one of those three measures that doesn't follow one of those two common rhythmic themes that I've described to you that we've been practicing, but it's not hugely different, it's just slightly different, and can be a little bit confusing to begin with. So what we'll do, we'll break it down ignoring the complication. We'll just look at how it works, kind of following the normal bum chuck rhythm, and then we'll just add in that little complication, and you'll see that actually it's quite easy, it makes sense. So if we look at this measure, what we'll do is we'll ignore for now that hammer on to the second fret on beat 2. We'll just leave that out for now, just look at the open strings, and then we've just got a simple bum chuck rhythm that we're familiar with. We've got the open C with the thumb down. Then on beat 3, we've got an index down strum, just on the bottom 2 open strings. Straight after on beat 4, we've got our thumb down. And then on beat 6, we've got our index down strum once more on those bottom 2 open strings. So without that little complication on beat 2, just the open strings, bum, chuck, bum, chuck. That's all this measure is. So measure 3 is just that, bum, chuck, bum, chuck. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, but we don't need to count. Bum, chuck, bum, chuck. So all we're going to do to complete this measure is we're just on beat 2, we're going to hammer on to the second fret on that C string. So once we've played it on beat 1 with the thumb down, we hammer on for beat 2, probably use a second finger for that. But then for beat 3, we want the G and the C open, so we just take that back off straight away. As soon as we've hammered it on and got that sound of that note, we just take it off, and then on beat 3, index down, beat 4, thumb down, beat 6, index down on the bottom 2 strings. So without the little complication of the hammer on and beat 2, ignore beat 2, we have, and I'll play the measure just kind of in repeat, we'll just keep playing it. Simple bum chuck rhythm. If we just add in that hammer on beat 2, what we get is, and that's all it is. We just get 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. Bum and chuck, bum, chuck. Okay, so that's it. So I'll play it slowly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Bum and chuck, bum, chuck. So if we look at how that sounds kind of with the intro and then leading into that, and I'll do it quite slowly, we would have. Okay, so that's measure 3, and then when we move on to measure 4, we're just back to one of our common rhythmic themes now. So this one's going to be the bum, chuck, bum, and chuck. So we'll play on beats 1, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And 4, 5, and 6 will be that little triple sequence of thumb down, index up, index down strum at the end of that measure. So we are going to still on our C chord, but what we're going to do now is we're going to hold this at the 3rd fret, so the A string at the 3rd. That's just going to be with the 1st finger because we're about to move up to the 7th fret. So we'll put that there so we've got these fingers free. So beat 1 of measure 4 with the thumb down as usual. Pick that A string at the 3rd, miss out beat 2. On beat 3, we've got our chuck, and that's going to be an index down strum of pretty much all the strings, but picking out the melody note off that 7th fret on the A string. And if we didn't hit the G string, it doesn't matter. The music shows that open G as well. But if we just hit the kind of top 3 strings, C onwards, that wouldn't matter. Doesn't really matter. We're just getting that kind of chuck sound, strum sound, but with the 7th fret there on the A string as the melody note coming through. So that's on beat 3. So beat 1, miss out beat 2. That's on beat 3. Then on beat 4, we've now got this bum and chuck, 4, 5, 6 to finish off. What we're going to do is on beat 4, thumb down on the 5th fret on the A string, and we'll go to the 3rd finger for that one. Pick it. Little triple sequence, so when we go to the 2nd fret now, which we'll use the 1st finger for, we're going to do that with the index up. And then we're going to use the 2nd finger to play the E string at the 3rd, and then do an index down strum of the bottom 3 strings, the open G, the open C, and that E string at the 3rd. That completes that measure there. Index down strum on beat 6. We don't want to hear that open A, So what I would do is just when we put this second finger on the E string at the third, just kind of bring your wrist back a little bit to bring the hand down, and it'll just let the pad of that second finger just rest on that open A string. Not loads to fret it, just a little bit to mute it so we don't hear it. So when you do your index down strum, we hear that G note, the E string at the third. We hear that as the melody, but we don't have to worry too much about like controlling our strum so we don't hit the A. We mute the A, we can just hit the A. So I hit the A then, but we couldn't hear it because that was muting it. Without that little muting trick, we hear that A and it messes things up because we don't want that in there. So just use that finger, mute the A to do that down strum on beat 6. So how that measure would sound with the count would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But as we said before, we don't need to think about the count and we can just do it using the bum, and chuck rhythm. So bum, and chuck. So if we then look at measures 3 and 4 together, nice and slowly, we would have bum and chuck, bum, and chuck. Okay, so that's measures 3 and 4. Just before we play them together, just a quick note about measure 4 in terms of sort of the transitions that I always like to talk about, because playing this at speed, moving from the 7th to the 5th to the 2nd is a bit of a stretch, and it's quite a rapid movement that we need to do. So when we play beat 3 on measure 4, that index down strum with our pinky on at the 7th, usually it might make sense to use the second finger to play the 5th. If we think about that, the third finger would take the 6th, that would take the 5th. But what we want to do, because when it can jump down to the 2nd after the 5th, we want to think about sort of stretching our hand down and getting those leaps in so that there's less to do to get to that 2nd. So if we've played that on beat 3, we're going to use the third finger to jump that down to the 5th fret and pick that, so that we can then, haven't got too much of a stretch, because again it's probably a fret further than we'd like to do. If the third finger's on there, that would take that one, that would take that one, but we want that onto the 2nd fret. So what we'll do with the third finger there, it's now not too bad to stretch the first down to there. So make sure you use that finger in, 4th finger, 3rd finger, 1st finger, then the 2nd finger's free to take that. Okay, so let's have a go at playing measures 3 and 4 together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So on to measure 5, we're based on an F chord now, and all we're going to do for our rhythm is our standard bum chuck, 1, 3, 4, 6. So just that rhythm, and what we're going to do, we're going to have our first finger on the E string at the 1st fret. I'm going to pick that with the thumb, as always. Our beat 3 index down strum is going to be on that kind of F chord shape, but just the C, the E and the A strings is all we need there. If we catch the open G, it doesn't really matter, but we'll try and avoid the G if we can. And then on beat 4 with the thumb again, we're going to play the open E, so we just take that finger off, all open, play that open E. And then this is basically a C chord now that we're moving to. And then what we're going to do on beat 6 for our final index down strum is just play the E string at the 3rd and then strum down to that note there. Like before, we don't want to hear the A string, so we can use that muty trick just so that we hear that G string as the melody. So that measure there, measure 5, is just boom. So on to measure 6, we're playing the rhythm 1, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this is our sort of bum and chuck rhythm, so our familiar rhythm that we know. So what we're going to do on beat 1, we're going to play the C string at the 2nd fret, and we're kind of based on a G chord here, G6 according to the music, but it's a sort of G chord sound that we're playing. So on beat 1, we've got a C string at the 2nd, we'll play that with the 2nd finger here, and we'll pick it with the thumb down, as we always do on beat 1. And then on beat 3, we're going to hit that chord, just the G, the C that we're holding, and the open E. And we do want to catch that open E because that's the melody note. If we think about the melody for this measure, what we want to hear is, that's our melody. So when we play that down strum on beat 3, we do want to hear that open E, but we don't really want to hear that open A. Now you could try and just do this where you control that strum so it just catches that E and then leaves the strings and misses the A. If you're struggling with that, you could find a way of just muting that A string with one of these spare fingers so that we can just strum all 4 strings, and if we catch that A, it doesn't matter because it's muted. You find the best way of doing it, but on that down strum on beat 3, we do want to catch that open E because it's part of the melody. And then for the second half of this measure, we're playing 4, 5, 6, so we're playing our little triple sequence, thumb down, index up, index down. This is like the bum and chuck if we think about it in that sense. So we'll have the E string at the first fret, and we'll play that with the first finger. We'll keep this one on because we're coming back to it shortly. So the first finger goes on, pick that with the thumb. Then on beat 5, we are going to open up that E string again, so just take that finger back off, do that with an index up pick. That's beat 5. And then on beat 6, just hit those bottom 2 strings, still holding this, the open G, the C string at the second, and that's beat 6. So that measure all together, we would have, okay, there we go. So if we look at that with measure 5, all together we would have let's have a go now at playing measures 5 and 6 together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So on to measures 7 and 8, they're just exact copies of measures 3 and 4, we just play those again, so we won't look at those. We'll move on to measure 9, which kind of completes now this A melody section. Measures 9 and 10 finish this off. So what we're going to do, we're based on an F chord, but now we're playing it a bit further up the neck because we need some higher melody notes. So what we're going to do on this measure, measure 9, we're playing our 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, or bum and chuck rhythm. So on beat 1, we're going to play the C string at the 5th with the first finger, and we're going to get ready to bar across there. We don't need to put the pressure on for the full bar straight away on that first note, but we need to bear in mind that when we pick it, we are going to put the pressure on that bar shortly. And then on beat 3, that's when we'll put the pressure on because we'll add the pinky onto the A string at the 8th, and then we'll play those 3 strings, the C, the E and the A, with the bar, pressure put on, index down strum for that on beat 3, and then we're just going to move this down a fret to the 7th, so we'll use a 3rd finger for that, and just pick that with the thumb down on beat 4, and then a little triple sequence, index up on the 5th fret, so we'll just take that off, and we'll use our first finger here, this 3/4 bar, pressure on, so that we can play that index up, A string at the 5th. And then what we're going to do here, this is a little bit of a tricky bit. I tried this a few ways using these 2 fingers to play these 2 frets here, but because of the twist you've got to do, it kind of takes the pressure off that bar. You get a bit of buzzing on that A string at the 5th. I tried moving that up for the bar, and that didn't really work very well. Although it's a little awkward, I find the best way to do this is just kind of slap that 3rd finger onto the 7th fret and do a kind of sort of half bar, because we only need E and C fretted at the 7th, so we just sort of slap it on there in the middle, roughly. As long as it puts pressure on those 2 middle strings, we just need to hear those 2 strings together with the open G, and we do that kind of strum down on beat 6. But it's quite good as well, because if we use that kind of hinge bar thing, we can use that to mute the A string so that we hear this E string at the 7th as our melody note, because that's what we want. If we think about the melody for measure 9, what we're getting is, that's what we want to hear. So from here, slapping that finger on is actually quite a good way to do it, because it feels quite natural, and it also allows you to mute that A string. Okay, so measure 9. 1, 3, 4, 5, 6. or bum, chuck, bum and chuck. So a little bit slower. There we go. So if we then move that into measure 10, what we're going to do is use the 4th finger to then play the E string at the 8th, so just 1 fret up from the 7th there, put that on the 8th, we can take that bar off, that 3rd finger, and just hold the E string at the 8th with the 4th finger, and on beat 1 at bar 10, or measure 10, we'll just pick that, and we're just using our bum chuck rhythm here, 1, 3, 4, 6, nice and simple. We just pick that once, beat 3, index down strum just on the 2 open bottom strings, the C and the G, and pick it again, the E string at the 8th on beat 4, and then another index down strum on beat 6 on those 2 bottom open strings. So measure 10, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or without the counting, bum, chuck, which is the easier way to think about it. So if we look at measures 9 and 10 together, we would have So now we'll have a go at playing those 2 together. So measures 9 and 10, a little bit slower than that. We'll have a go at playing those 2 together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So once we've played measure 10, we then just go back to measure 3. We start this A melody section again, and we play it again. Like a lot of jigs, the kind of general structure for this piece is kind of the A melody twice and then the B melody twice, like an A-A-B-B structure as we call it. So at the end of measure 10, back to measure 3, play it all through again, but then at the end of measure 9, rather than playing measure 10 again, we then go to measure 11, because that's going to lead us into the B melody section. So measure 11 starts in the same way as measure 10. So from measure 9, we've done our that 8th fret there that I just played, that's beat 1 of measure 11. We do our index down strum on beat 3, just like measure 10. Then we hit that E string at the 8th again with the thumb, just like measure 10. But after we've played it once on beat 1, as we're doing our index down strum of those bottom 2 open strings on beat 3, we want to replace that finger with the 2nd finger and put the 1st finger on at the 7th to be holding this kind of sort of C chord shape, ready to lead us into the B melody section. So at the start of measure 11, we're playing the E string at the 8th with our 4th finger. As we hit the index down strum, bring these 2 fingers in to this position, 8 and 7, and then on beat 4, pick that 8th fret on the E string again, but now we're holding it with the 2nd finger. And we're playing 4, 5, 6 now. We're playing our bum and chuck, because this is going to lead us into the beat melody. So beat 4 is the E string at the 8th, thumb down pick. Then we're going to play the A string at the 7th, which we're holding here. So we play that with the index up on beat 5. And then we add the 3rd finger on to be playing the A string at the 8th. So we're playing basically 0, 8, 8 on the C, E and A. And then we do our index down strum on beat 6. So our rhythm hits are 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, or if we think about the bum chuck rhythm, bum chuck, bum and chuck for this one. And the way it would sound is so bum chuck, bum and chuck, or 1, 3, 4, 5, 1, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's a little tricky bit just to get your head round, to make sure that those 2 E string at the 8th fret notes on beats 1 and 4, we're just going to play them twice, but on the first time, play it with the 4th finger, or hold it with the 4th finger, and by the time we get to it on beat 4, we want to replace it with the 2nd finger, ready to do that. Okay, so measure 11. If we put that together with measure 9, because on the 2nd repeat of the A melody section we'll go from 9 to 11, we would have have that, we'd have this. Okay, so let's have a go at playing those measures 9 and 11 together now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Onto the B melody section now. What we'll do is we'll look at this section in kind of pairs of measures, because we have a very sort of similar rhythmic theme going on through the B melody. So if we look at the first two measures of the B melody, we've got measures 12 and 13. The rhythm that we have in terms of our bum chuck is, for measure 12, just our standard bum chuck, and then measure 13 we have our bum and chuck. So we put that together, we have our bum chuck bum and chuck. And those two measures now, that rhythm for those two measures is just repeated for the next two measures, and then that same rhythm is repeated for the next two. So we'll look at them in blocks of two, because we've got this quite nice kind of just rhythmic feel going on through this B melody section. So if we look at measure 12, we're on a C chord here, and if we think about where we finished at the end of the A melody on measure 11, what we had was, that's the last thing we've played, these two strings at the 8th fret, but keeping the first finger on behind on the A string at the 7th. What we then do for beat 1 of measure 12, and we're just doing our 1, 3, 4, 6, or bum chuck basic rhythm for this measure. So on beat 1, we're going to keep that held, and we're going to put our pinky on at the 10th fret on the A string, pick that with the thumb. Then we're going to take that off, and that third finger that was on the 8th fret from the end of measure 11, so that we're just playing our 7, 8 on the A and the E, and then we're going to strum that with the index down. That's on beat 3. Then on beat 4, we're going to pick that E string at the 8th that we're holding with the thumb down, and then just strum that shape again with the index down on beat 6. So we just have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or bum chuck. Okay, so straight into measure 13, we're going to keep that held. We then pick the open G string with the thumb on beat 1. Then we throw our pinky back onto the 10th fret on the A string, keeping everything else here held with the first two fingers, and then index down strum on that shape on beat 3. Then on beat 4, because now we're doing our 4, 5, 6, or bum and chuck, we pick the 10th fret, still holding it, pick that with the thumb down, and then we're going to go down to the 8th fret, so we'll put the third finger on to the 8th fret, but still keeping these first two fingers on where they go. They just stay there for the whole measures 12 and 13. So pinky comes off, down to the 8th, do that with the index up, because this is a little triple sequence now at the end of these two measures. So index up on the 8th fret, and then take that third finger off, just to leave these two fingers on, this basic C shape, and then index down strum on that. Okay, so if we put 12 and 13 together, we would have So let's have a go now, nice and slowly, at playing measures 12 and 13 together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So now we'll look at measures 14 and 15 together, because like I said before, we've got the same bum, chuck, bum, and chuck, or 1, 3, 4, 6, 1, 3, 4, 5, 6 rhythm going on. So what we're going to do now is, from this point here, because at the end of measure 13, we've strummed our index down on the C shape, and then we're going to move to this G shape now. So what we're going to do is put the pinky on the A string at the 8th, and we can take these two fingers off now, and we just pick that note on its own. So on beat 1, A string at the 8th, thumb down pick on that one. Then we're going to add our G shape on, but our kind of halfway up the next G shape, which is index finger on the A string at the 5th. These two fingers go on the C and the E at the 7th, and then we have our G shape. We're going to strum that on beat 3 with index down. Then on beat 4, we're just going to pick the E string at the 7th, which we're now holding as part of this shape. So we just pick that E string on beat 4, and then do another index down strum on beat 6 of this shape. And that completes that measure. So not a lot to do with the left hand really. From this shape, we put the little finger on at the 8th, G chord on, then it just stays like that for the rest of it. Bum chuck. 1, 3, 4, 6. Okay, so straight into measure 15, we're going to hit that open G string on beat 1, keeping this G shape held there from the previous measure. Then on beat 3, we're going to do an index down strum of a G7 chord, so we're just going to add the pinky on to the A string at the 8th, keeping the G chord held, and then strum that on beat 3. And now we're going to do our 4, 5, 6 little triple sequence. So what we'll do on beat 4, we'll pick that 8th fret we've just held with the thumb down. Then we're going to move to the 7th fret, so we're just going to slide it down to the 7th, hit that with an index up pick, and then go back to our general G chord. So take the pinky off to play the A string at the 5th, and then do that with an index down strum on beat 6. So that measure there, measure 15, would be, so 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, or our bum, chuck, and chuck. So if we put it together with measure 14 and play those two together, we would have so bum, chuck, and chuck. So let's have a go now, nice and slow, at playing those two together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So on to measure 16 and 17. These ones are a little bit tricky because we've got quite a little bit of kind of rapid left hand work to do up and down the neck. This is possibly the hardest bit for the left hand, certainly, of the entire piece in my opinion. So what we're going to do, start of measure 16, and we're still doing our bum, chuck, bum, and chuck rhythm, just like the previous two pairs of measures that we've done. So on beat 1, we're going to go to the A string at the 7th. So if we think about where we finished measure 15 was on this G chord, then what we're going to do is just put the 4th finger on to the A string at the 7th from there, but take that whole G chord off. So we're just fretting the A string at the 7th with the 4th finger. We'll play that on beat 1. Now what we want to do on beat 3 is go to a basic open C chord. So we'll use the 1st finger to play A string at the 3rd with all open strings. Strum that on beat 3, but then on beat 4 we're jumping up to the 8th fret on the A string. So we'll take that finger off, put the 4th finger, the pinky, on at the 8th on the A string, pick that with the thumb down, and then we're going to drop the 1st finger back to the 5th fret and do a little half bar across the top 2 strings, the A and the E strings, and play that full strum down, all 4 strings, on beat 6. So a little bit jumpy there. We've got 1, 3, 4, 6, or bum, chuck. That's measure 16. So then on to measure 17, we continue this kind of jumpy kind of feel. We're going to go up to the 10th fret on the A string. So beat 1 of measure 17, just pick that 10th fret on the A on its own with the thumb down, and then down to the 7th and 8th on the A and the E, that C shape we've been holding before, hit that with the index down strum, and then up to the 12th fret with the pinky now. So take those off, just the 4th finger on at the 12th fret, pick that, but now we're doing our 4, 5, 6, or bum and chuck to end this measure. So what we're going to do is pick that with the index with the thumb down, A string at the 12th, then we're going to come to the 10th fret, but we're going to play that with the 3rd finger, and then play that with the index up. And then this is a little cheeky jump. What we need to do, bring that 3rd finger down to the 8th, but also put the 1st finger on the E string at the 5th to hold this kind of F shape, and then strum that on beat 6. So that little bit there is quite tricky, certainly at speed, to do the 12, 10, 8 and 5. Does make sense to use that finger, and that's the quickest way that I found to do it. It's the easiest transition. Pinky, third finger down, and then first finger on there. Okay, so measures 16 and 17 together would sound like this. So as you're doing that kind of descending melody bit from the 12, 10 to the 8th, think about sort of moving the hand down as you go. I know that sounds obvious, but as you play one note, be preparing your hand already for the next one. So when we pick the 12th fret on beat 4 of measure 17, pick it with the thumb, but already have your hand kind of pulling in this direction. Not so that it ruins the notes and we get like buzzing and cutting it off, but just think about the hand moving it down, pick it straight down to the 10th, keep the hand kind of moving in that direction, and then think about from here. If we get the hand kind of in position, these 2 fingers then are almost where they need to be. If we pull the hand down, think about that being kind of 2 frets lower. When we just shift the hand down 2 frets, okay, that one's almost where it needs to be straight away. 3 frets lower, sorry. Yeah, 3 frets. So as we come down, move the hand in this sort of down the neck position, so that from there to there becomes quite quick. You can see as I put my third finger on, lean the hand down, stretch it across, get this finger ready. So that's quite efficient and quick, because that's quite tricky at speed. So 16 and 17. And let's have a go at playing those 2 together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. On to measure 18 now. This is another one of these 3 measures that doesn't follow the same kind of rhythmic theme that we've been looking at, but it's quite an easy one because all we're doing is playing all 6 8th notes. So we're playing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's almost like a bum and chuck rhythm. So we're playing 3 little triple sequences: thumb down, index up, index down, and then again thumb down, index up, index down. So the way we'll do it from this point here, this is where we were at the end of measure 17. What we're going to do for beat 1, we want to be on the A string at the 7th. So we'll take the first finger off and just move that third finger down a fret. Then we're ready on measure 18, beat 1, to do our thumb down pick of that note. And then on beat 2, index up on the A string at the 5th. So we'll put the first finger on there, take the third off, do that with an index up pick. And then we're going to do the E string at the 8th with the third finger. And we can take that one off as we do it. Put that one on. Use the bottom of the finger, the pad, like we've done previously, to mute the A string, because we want to do an index down strum of the bottom 3 strings, the C, the G, the C and the E. We want that E string at the 8th as the melody note. So strum down to there. And then take that off on beat 4. Do the G string open with the thumb down, and as you're doing that, just move this hand down because we want to be down at the bottom at the start of the neck shortly. So as we play that open G on beat 4, just start moving the hand down, then play the open A with the index up, and then on the final beat, beat 6, we're doing an index down strum, hands there ready now to do a standard G7 chord, index down. That's on beat 6. So if we look at measure 18, we would have all 6 notes: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Or bum and chuck, bum and chuck. Okay, brill. So from there we'll go into measure 19, and this one we're now going to play 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, or bum, chuck, bum and chuck, so one of our standard rhythmic themes. So what we're going to do, go to a C chord, so we'll take these 2 fingers off, keep that third finger on at the second, but then just move it up a fret to the third to get ready on beat 1 to pick that with the thumb down. It's beat 1 of measure 19. Then on beat 3, we're going to hit the bottom 2 strings open with a little index down flick just on those 2. And then we're going to go back into playing the B melody again. So we do a little bit like we did at the end of measure 11, where we bring these 2 fingers up to the E string at the 8th and the A string at the 7th. And then we pick on 4, 5, 6, or bum and chuck. Pick the 8th fret on the E string, pick the A string at the 7th, add that finger onto the 8th, index down strum, and then we're ready to go back into the B melody again, back to measure 12. And just play that through once more. And then once we have done that little bit, actually, so what we'll do, measure 18 and 19 together. Yeah, so we'll play measure 18 and 19 together. So what we'll have is, yeah, so nice and slow. We'll have a go at those 2 measures now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So then on the second run through the B melody section, once we've played measure 18, kind of the second time round, we then jump to measure 20 just to finish the piece off. So from measure 18 the second time round, we would just do. So that little last bit there was measure 20, so it's just a C chord. It's kind of just basically beats 1, 3, 4, or bum, chuck, bum, just to finish up. So we play the C string at the 3rd on beat 1, little index down strum on the bottom 2 open strings, and then on beat 4 just hit that A string at the 3rd once more and let that ring out. For the rest of the measure, that's the end of the piece. Okay, so if we look at that again, measure 18 into the final measure 20 would be. So there it is, that's the whole thing. I've got no idea how many times I've said the words bum and chuck in the last 40 minutes or so, or however long this video ends up being, but I've definitely said the words bum and chuck an awful lot. Talk about earworms, this is definitely one there, isn't it? You'll be hearing bums and chucks in your sleep for weeks to come. I do apologise for that. But I hope you have fun with it, I hope you learn it and can play it using the triple technique, because it does sound really good with the triple technique. So I do hope you persevere with that and try and do it with that technique. One thing I'd say though, if you did watch the Triplets from Magic course, you will have heard me say this back on that course as well, that patience really, really is key with this, because we need to practice slow to begin with. We always do. It's the only way to get sort of good muscle memory going on there. But while we're playing it slowly, it's just not going to sound very good, because that rhythmic kind of backbeat that we're after only really kind of works and becomes apparent at slightly faster tempos. So even if you're doing it right, when you're playing it slowly, it just won't quite sound like it should. But be patient with it. As long as you're doing it correctly, as you gradually build up speed, it's a weird thing, like at a certain tempo, those index down strums come in quick enough to sort of generate that rhythm, that rhythmic feel, and it just sort of suddenly all sounds amazing at a certain tempo. So build up to it slowly and just trust that it will come, you will get there. If you're doing it right, when you get a little bit quicker, it'll just sound smashing. Okay, so have fun with it and take care, and I will see you next time.
Alright guys, so this week's ukulele lesson was a ton of fun. Anytime we add a song that uses that playing style that's taught in our triplet strum magic course, it just puts a smile on my face, because it's such a cool sounding technique, it's such a cool playing style. So I do want to remind you, if you haven't checked out the course, please do so. It teaches you another Irish jig, and it also has quite a few other songs in there that use the same right hand motion. So I'll put a link to the course in the description box below. But I also do want to remind you that if you want to get the tabs for this specific song, you can do so by clicking this link, or you can go to the site rockclass101.com and do a search for Smash the Windows. I love that name. Now, also on that page will be the interactive on-screen tab viewer. So literally you can hit play, watch the tab scroll across in real time. You can highlight bars, loop sections, slow it down, all that fun jazz. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this lesson, and we'll see you in the next one. Take care.